Subject name ME 8351 Manufacturing Technology 1. Fourth unit Sheet Metal Processes. Syllabus: Sheet metal characteristics, shearing, bending and drawing operations, stretch forming operations, formability of sheet metal, formability test methods, special forming processes, working principle and applications of hydroforming, rubber pad forming, metal spinning, explosive forming, magnetic pulse forming, pin forming, superplastic forming, microforming. In this video, we are going to see the topic 1 of the fourth unit, that is sheet metal characteristics. First, what is sheet metal? The working of metal thickness from 3 to 5 mm with the hand tools or simple machines into the various forms is known as sheet metal work. They are formed by cutting, forming and joining processes. Sheet metal components are less expensive, lighter in weight, easily replaceable, high strength, good dimensional accuracy, good surface finish, relatively low cost, economical for mass production for large quantities. Examples: funnels, bends, boxes, pipes and covers. Here, the thickness of sheet metal is 0.4 mm to 6 mm. Thickness of the metal greater than 6 mm, which means it's a plate. Thickness of the metal lesser than 6 mm, it is a sheet metal. It is a difference between the plate and the sheet metal. And the sheet metal histories. In prehistoric times, metal sheets were used to make armor of soldiers, swords, cannon, etc. Before the discovery of glass, it was also used to make common home articles like plates, bowls, liquid jars. Later on, the sheet metal found its way in the making of vehicles, blades of helicopters. The picture shows the sheet metal objects. In early times, armor of soldiers, swords are made up of sheet metals of various materials. And the sheet metal hand tools. The sheet metal work is performed by using the hand tools: measuring tool, straight edge, steel square, scriber, divider, trammel point, punches, chisel, hammer, shears, pliers, stakes, growers, rivet sets and soldering iron. Let's see the characteristics of sheet metal. Characterized by high ratio of surface area to thickness. Sheet metal is characterized by high ratio of surface area to thickness. Forming is generally carried out in tensile forces. Decreased thickness should be avoided as far as possible, as they can lead to necking and failure. The major factors that contribute significantly include elongation, anisotropy, grind size, residual stresses, spring back and wrinkling. First, elongation. It is the characteristics of the sheet metal to stretch without necking and failure. Here are some examples of the elongations. test to measure the ductile of a material. When the material is tested for tensile strength, it elongates a certain amount before fracture take place. Two pieces are placed together and the amount of extension is measured against mark made before the straight and the test and is expressed as the percentage of the original gauge length. Higher elongation leads to Ludus band or strain marks. To avoid this, reduce yield point elongation by reducing the thickness of sheet by 0.5% to 1.5% by cold rolling, known as the temper rolling. Next characteristics of sheet metal is anisotropy. Determine thinning behavior of sheet metal during stretching, important in deep drawing operations. So anisotropy, there may be two types, that is crystallographic anisotropy, that is grain orientation, and the mechanical fibering, alignment of impurities, voids, inclusions. The anisotropy present in plane of the sheet is called planar anisotropy, and the anisotropy present in the thickness direction is called normal anisotropy. Next characteristics is the spring back effect. Spring back, elastic recovery of a plastically deformed workpiece. It's a spring back because sheet metal generally are in thin and are subjected to relatively small grains during forming. Sheet metal parts are likely to experience considerably spring back. Spring back effect is particularly significantly in bending and other forming operations. It's a diagram for the spring back wiping die. The sheet metal is bent by using the punch. As the final bend is made, and the last picture shows the spring back effect of the material. Next characteristics is the wrinkles. If the workpiece is not clamped properly or clearance is not provided, wrinkles may occur. Wrinkling, compressive stress are formed in the plane of the sheet result in wrinkling. The tendency of wrinkling increases with unsupported length of the sheet metal. Decreasing thickness, non-uniformity in thickness, lubricant trapped can also contribute to wrinkling. Next, grain size. Determine surface roughness on stretch sheet metal. It affects material strength. Generally, ASTM grain size of number 7 is preferred. And next is the residual stress. Since this being a cold working process, residual stress may lead to distortion or cracking. Next characteristics is the strength. The ability of a material to stand up to force being applied without bending, breaking, or deforming it in any way. Next characteristics is the elasticity. The ability of a material to absorb force and flux it in different direction, returning to its original position. And the next characteristics is the plasticity. The ability of the material to change in shape permanently. The next is the ductility. The ability of the material to change shape, usually by stretching along its length. Next characteristics is the toughness, a characteristics of the material that does not break or shatter when receiving a blow or under a sudden shock. And the next characteristics is the conductivity, the ability of the material to conduct electricity. And the next is the tensile strength, the ability of the material to stretch without breaking or snapping. Here some of the applications of the sheet metals in automobile industries. The sheet metal is deformed into the desired and brought into the required form to get auto body pressing like bonnet, bumpers, doors, etc. In aircraft, sheet metal is used for making the entire fuselage, wings and body. In domestic applications, sheet metal is used for making many parts like washing machine body and covers, iron tops, clock cases, fan blades and casing, cooking utensils, railway cars and locomotives, farm and construction equipments. Thank you.